Good morning, everyone. Shall we begin this beautiful Sunday morning by standing as we're able and singing together?
Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian in peaceful Portland. We are so glad. We are so glad that you are here and we are here, and it is wonderful to gather together in person and online. We hope that you online feel the love from this room rippling out to you. We are a multi-generational, spiritually inclusive, and justice-centered community, and we're so glad that you're here, whether it is your first time or whether it is your 10,000th time in the congregation. Following the service, I invite you to join fellow congregants for a social hour in Fuller Hall, located just below the sanctuary. And if you're a regular congregant who's lucky enough to be sitting next to a newcomer, invite them to come along to Fuller with you. And if you're new, you're also invited to join a brief welcome circle over in the gallery to my left. Jen Thomas, our Director of Congregational Life, is over there to greet you. It's a chance to meet some leaders, staff, and other folks, and to ask any questions you might have. And let us center. It is good to be. It is good to be here. It is so good to be here together. And let us open with the chalice lighting. And I would love to call Marin and Rowan up to light our chalice this morning. And will the two of you help me lead the congregation as we say our unison affirmation together? We are Unitarian Universalists. We light our chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Words for our call to worship today come from T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Through the unknown remembered gate, when the last of earth left to discover is that which was the beginning at the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall and the children in the apple tree, not known because not looked for, but heard, half heard in the stillness between two waves of the sea. Friends, it is good to be together. Let us gather now in faith, in hope, and in love.
This morning, we have our first special guest artist of the season. Part of my goal in the interim period is to bring in organizations and ensembles to be a part of our service, but also I'm reminded of the plethora of talent that we have right here inside this very sanctuary. So this morning, we're joined by Gila Lawrenson and Rich Scher. Would you help me welcome them?
Love is but a song we sing, and fear's the way we would die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some will go, everything will pass. When our time here on earth comes to an end at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now, right now. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song we sing, you will understand. You hold the key to love or to fear, all in your trembling hand. One key unlocks that door, it's there at your command. together, try to love one another right now. Right now. Come on, people now. Smile on each other. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Love each other. Get together. Love one another right now. Love now. Right now. Love now.
Next, we're going to teach us a new song. Ooh, exciting. This is a song called Open the Door that we are going to start providing as part of our services and have as part of our regular cycle. It's a song also that Rich Scher and Kim Heron brought to me that we did one time in the spring. So I thought I'd teach it right now, and then we'll sing it all together. So first, take a listen to this melody one time. It'll eventually be, there it is, fabulous. So I'm going to sing it with my good friend Rich, and then we're all going to sing it all together. So take a listen one time. Ready? Open the door, move right inside. Come into this place where love and hope will abide. Reach out your hand, we'll welcome you in. It's so good to be together again. There's a few verses of this song that we'll sing all together, but before we sing this all together, a quick little announcement from Tom. Or Allison.
Those of you that are new may not know, but we've been playing with our order of service, and so so we're learning to adapt in a time of change. So here's an announcement about our children. As you recall, we have a rotation for this Time for All Ages, and this is the music-focused Sunday where we're learning a new song. And at the end of that song, our children are going to move next door to our religious education program. So parents and caregivers, if your young people are registered and know what they're doing, then we can take it from here. But if you're new or you haven't registered yet, please meet Reverend Leah out in the lobby today. And today, it's one of our community building Sundays. So we have classes for our preschool-age children and for kindergarten through first grade. And going with our theme of the year, Weaving Together, second grade and up, have a special weaving project with a guest artist and mentor in Buchanan Reception. So let us sing all together, and then I think on the fourth verse, our children and teachers will go to their weaving opportunity.
Actually, before you get settled, let's take a time now and greet one another as we begin worship today. Let's greet our neighbor in person and online. And now let's join together in a responsive reading. Will you rise in body and in spirit? Keep you moving today. We are in the High Holy Days in the Jewish tradition, and a reminder that this coming Wednesday on Yom Kippur, we will have our Yom Kippur service. It will be at 7 o'clock this coming Wednesday in our Elliott Chapel. Will you join me now? For remaining silent when a single word would have made a difference, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Let's sing together now our doxology, Spirit of Life.
We have some important justice-focused announcements today. As the calls to public witness and protest increase, the need for practical skills and knowledge does too. This Tuesday from 6 to 7:30, the Democracy in Action Group will be hosting a virtual Know Your Rights training for protests. And in addition, today there is an opportunity for peaceful witness from 3 to 6 p.m., and you can find out more information at the Democracy in Action table today. And you can register for the Tuesday evening training through our Front Steps email link. Today is also the last day to register for the 9:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock gathering next Saturday, October 4th, Weaving Our Community for Social Justice. Whether you're already part of one of the action groups, or if you're just curious about how you might like to take action with others here at First Unitarian, we hope that you'll join us for a fun and spiritually grounded, interactive day. And I'll remind folks that we're going to have our guest from the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, Heather Vickery, with us next Saturday and again on Sunday morning as well. This is a time when so much is happening in our community. I hope that you'll also remember that it's important to replenish and to nourish yourselves. We have the Vespers, which meets every Friday night at 5 o'clock online. The link is also in the Front Steps email, and it's a time of recentering, of prayer and reflection led by our lay ministers. Thank you for that gift of ministry from all of them. And now is the time in our service when we reflect on what we give and receive to one another. Our offering today will go to the Shower Project. And our Shower Project, as you have heard many times, is making a huge difference in the lives of so many residents in our city, and also touching and transforming the lives of the members of this community. And we are nearing an impact of about 2,000 connections where people have come for showers, clothing, and respite. So it is making a meaningful difference. And today, our Quilts of Love group has crafted an offering for the Shower Project. It's going to hang in the day room, and it is our values statement with love at the center and justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity surrounding it in a flower. So special thanks to Kathleen Vinson and all of the quilters. And will you join with me in an impromptu blessing? May the guests who come into our Shower Project feel the warmth of compassion, feel the rising of their dignity, and feel that they are a part of this city and this community. And may they leave refreshed and renewed with a sense and a glimmer of grace. And I'm going to put this outside of our sanctuary following the service. And I invite all of you to touch it and maybe say your own silent blessing. And then it will have all of our prayerful intentions and the values with which we meet our neighbors in the day room. And I invite you to bless this ministry by giving as generously as you are able for our plate share today. You can use the slips in the pews in order to donate electronically, and if you're at home, you can use the QR code. And if you would prefer to give cash or checks, our ushers will be coming around in just a moment. And if you're on Boxcast, you can use the Donate Now button. May we all be blessed by sharing grace.
Around us and above, there is mercy, there is love. Living Spirit, help these people through. Up and down till sunset, working all the days. Come Sunday, oh come Sunday, that's our day. I believe that love put sun and moon up in the sky. I don't mind the gray skies, 'cause they're just clouds passing by. We'll give peace and comfort to every troubled mind. Come Sunday, oh come Sunday, that's today. Often we feel weary, but we know each other's cares. Share them with each other, we can hear each other's prayers. We'll give peace and comfort to every troubled mind. Come Sunday, oh come Sunday, that's our day. Come Sunday, oh come Sunday, that's today.
We make space each week to hold the joys and the sorrows and the transitions, the milestones of our fellow congregants since we last met. Some we share aloud when you send them in through the form online, and others we know are held silently in this room. And you can light a candle in the left or the right gallery, or you can write in a prayer online, and we will light a candle for you following the service. Here are our milestones today. These gorgeous chancel flowers are in honor of longtime member Larry Conrad, who passed away in April. Today is the 45th anniversary of the day that he and Topaz Faulkner were married. Longtime member Brent Schauer continues a strong recovery after a fall on September 5th, which led to brain and neck surgery. He is still well cared for at OHSU, and we hope that he can move to a rehabilitation facility soon. He is grateful for all of the well wishes that you have sent so far, and cards and emails are welcome, but no visitors yet at this time. And I have the address here, so if you'd like it, come see me following the service or call the office as well. I invite you into a time of prayerful meditation and reflection. Spirit of life, on this weekend of the Sabbath of return, may we turn away from all that is holding us back from reaching for the beloved community with the fullness of our being and our actions. On this weekend, when our president is turning to threaten the peace of our streets with his talk, tanks, and misuse of troops, may we remember to turn towards wisdom and peace and love. For it is in turning towards wisdom that we can resist this effort to cast our city and our people in a drama of division and isolation, where neighbor is pitted against neighbor. We pray no. We shall turn towards love as the source of liberation for all and not freedom for some. We shall turn towards love as our destiny and learn how to move together with its rhythms. May our movements lead us to choose life again and again by choosing to care for all our neighbors and all our relations, by choosing to peacefully oppose the misuse of power, including our military, by choosing to continue building up our great city of roses and renewal. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. And now I invite you to fill up our sanctuary with your own prayers on this day, and let us enter a time of holy silence. Our reading is by Denise Levertov, a poem titled Beginners. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life How could we tire of hope? So much is in bud. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy, only begun to envision how it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors. Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Surely it cannot drag into the silt all that is innocent. Not yet. Not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended. Too much hurt that we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in a communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round. And you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. And we'll move mountains, we're gonna walk it out. Move mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up 1,000 times again. The silence isn't quiet, and it's getting very hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. And we'll move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, rise unafraid, I'll rise up 1,000 times again. For you, I'm gonna rise up for you, All we need is hope. After that we have each other. After that we have each other. And we will rise. We will rise. We will rise. We will rise. I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up 1,000 times again. Well, we'll rise up, high like the waves, we'll rise up, in spite of the aches, we'll rise up 1,000 times again.
Thank you, Gilda. Thank you, Rich. I first heard of the First Unitarian Church of Portland back in the fall of 1992. I was entering my second year of seminary in Berkeley, and there was some buzz about this congregation. The buzz was about how rapidly it was growing under the leadership of its new senior minister, Marilyn Sewell, and how the congregation took a very public stand against a nasty anti-gay ballot measure in Oregon, Ballot Measure 9. Little did I know that I would come here just 3 years later. You see, the one thing that I was sure of in that moment in 1992 was that I was not going to go into parish ministry. The call, I was clear, was in chaplaincy. Parish ministry, I was clear, was just not for me. But as it happens in life, my path took a number of turns that I didn't expect. An internship in a congregation that helped me fall in love with parish life, some advice from wise counselors and friends who said, this may indeed be a good fit, and some moments of grace too, like when my search packet got lost in the mail and I was allowed still to apply. Now, this was so long ago that applying to a church actually involved sending 3-ring binders of pages and pages of material through the postal service. Now candidates have a website and search committees are simply offered a password to see it. I knew very little about Portland and Oregon at the time. Like a lot of people from the Midwest, I mostly knew Oregon has a state somewhere around California. But I did eventually visit here and found that this was indeed a beautiful place. I eventually met the search committee in person, and we discovered a mutual attraction. I eventually met all of you in a very full week of meetings and interviews. I eventually came to know that this was the place I was supposed to be, and here we are now, a little over 30 years later. I have been privileged to serve with 3 of your senior ministers, Marilyn Sewell for 14 years, Bill Singford for 12, and now Reverend Allison for the last 3 years. 3 very different people I would come to know and love. I consider it a great privilege to have served with all of them. So arriving here in the mid-1990s, I did not know what it would be like for this not so long out of the closet gay man to come to this place. Looking back, I think that it was more my concern than the congregation's. Now, it wasn't all smooth sailing. I had a straight elderly board member tell me that I was not welcome here. In fact, he told me that all the straight men had left the church because I had been called. Now, some of you have probably heard of the concept of gaydar, gay folks being able to identify others kind of, through signals. And it seemed like, wow, I guess my gaydar was a little off with all of those straight men having left in that time. These were heady days in the life of the church. You've probably heard some of the story. The church had called its first woman senior minister, and believe it or not, at that time, that was really quite a big deal. Only a couple of other large UU churches had done that at the time, and there was a convergence of things that I think made that happen. Now, the church in the years leading up to that time, the previous senior minister had lost 2 wives to illness, and in his last years was pulled back, and the church, I think, was kind of like a child who had a parent who had not been as present as it needed to be. The church, I've come to understand it, was really kind of down on itself. The church and its minister had gone through a period of looking inward, and the church in those days was ready for a new beginning. Now, the anti-gay ballot measure was a real threat, and most churches were not taking a stand against the ballot measure. In fact, most of the other churches in town were supportive of the measure. I heard the story of the Presbyterian church down the street. I think the minister took a kind of a neutral stand, like sort of opposing it, and they lost a $100,000 pledge and had to let go of one of their ministers. Indeed, it was a very fraught time in the community, and the gay community here, I've been told, was small and not very vocal. That ballot measure was a kind of forced coming out for many people. People were afraid of losing their jobs, of their physical and emotional safety. Ironically, some have told me that it was the ballot measure that forced them out of the closet. It was only years later that they would come to see some degree of, maybe it could even be called appreciation for that experience. Sometimes standing up to bullies calls out strengths in us that we may not have noticed were there. The church decided to wrap this city block with a ribbon and declare it a hate-free zone. It was one of those risks that turned out to be prophetic. Now picture this. It seemed that on the day when the press conference was called, that wrapping the block, that day was when our Women's Alliance was meeting. And yes, in those days it was the Women's Alliance. Now it's simply the Alliance. They let all folks in now. It was just a few years later when the membership was open. It was just a few years later that I would open up the membership to everyone, not only women. But at the time, it was still the custom for some of the women coming to their monthly luncheon to wear white gloves. And here was the backdrop to the news conference, the group of older women wearing white gloves, standing in solidarity with their new minister. And how could something supported by all these beautiful matriarchs of the church be so terrible? But I don't know that anyone expected what was going to happen next. In response to that public witness, the church's membership grew by 40% in just 1 year. Now, not just queer folks, but folks who wanted a faith community who was just doing the right thing. That, too, is a thread that goes back to the beginning of our congregation. As Reverend Allison talked about, the women who first imagined this church wanted a church that would come together and bear witness to the issues of their day. And all through our history, ministers and congregants have been on that path together, that the leadership doesn't necessarily just go in one direction, lay people and ministers. It's something that is very much shared. This church attracted more folks from mainline churches in those days who were looking for a faith community that was doing the right thing. And this is a time when most mainline churches were losing members at quite a pace. So this allowed this one to sort of buck that trend. Context is everything. Churches respond to the environment that they find themselves in. Now, all that growth was a blessing and a challenge in those next years. Some of you were here. All of a sudden, the church, then worshiping in what we now call our Elliott Chapel, was bursting with 2 services. Just about every Sunday, I'm told, was the announcement, please squeeze in together and make more space. There was a need to make more room. The next year, a 3rd service would be added along with a 3rd Sunday school session. Now, for years, there were 3 services in our congregation. The first at 8:30 in the morning for the early risers, the second one at 10, and the third at 11:30. That meant a tight turnaround time for all involved, especially our children and teachers in the learning community. It was not uncommon that the ministers would have to choose between taking 2 more minutes to use the restroom or getting to the next service on time. It was a tight schedule. Over the next few years, the building we now worship in was expanded to hold more people. So on the sides, when you see these pillars and you see our galleries, imagine walls being there and rooms being behind each of those. And this was sort of a tunnel vision, and when it was opened up in the windows, this became a very different space. But that was not necessarily a popular decision at the time. Some left the church over not being able to worship in our Elliott Chapel. Eventually, more and more space was added with our new Buchanan building. That is now such an important part of our facility. All of this was an enormous effort of money and volunteers to pull all of this off. Our justice program grew. The Green Sanctuary Movement, what we now call Ministry for Earth, was the first such group in our denomination. Economic justice became a central theme among others. Our music program grew to be the largest in the denomination. Our education programs grew. And this is what really tested our capacity. Now, I'm not sure if we literally made closets into classroom spaces for children, but it was pretty close. We were blessed to have children all over the place in those days. Our lay ministry program grew, offering support for congregants through difficult and changing times. These were heady and challenging days. Yes, this was a good problem to have, but all of that growth did put a strain on things. The church, you see, was used to functioning as a much smaller church. All of a sudden, it was not clear who decided what, and there was conflict with all of that. It took quite a few years to begin to figure it all out. Sometimes I think that we're still trying to figure all of that out. Now, the technical term for deciding who does what and who has the authority and responsibility is called governance. Let's just say that is an ongoing process. Maybe the story is that churches are very human institutions. They can bring out the best in us and sometimes the worst. And as a free faith without a creed, perhaps we are all the more vulnerable. Without a shared creed, we covenant together to support each other on the journey. But sometimes in churches, we are not always that kind to each other. Change is often hard, and I have come to learn that that can be especially so in faith communities. It's said that we want the church to be mostly how it was when we entered it. And over time, inevitably, things will change and we are asked to adopt. I think when we go through change in other parts of our lives, we look to the church as being the sanctuary we'll go for comfort. When change happens in the church, we may not always feel it's so welcome. In those years, with all of the growth, some of the old-timers felt as if their church had been taken away by the newcomers. A little over a decade ago, some of you may remember when these screens went into this sanctuary. Now, screens had become a pretty standard thing in churches, but still for some, there was a sense that their sanctuary had been taken away. Once again, some people left. For others, the change was welcome. Through the years, there have been staff transitions too that have been very difficult. But the church has always been a place that's in flux. The church and its ministry through the years exist in the context of the larger world. Now, there was the decision to put the Black Lives Matter banner on the side of the building some years ago. All of a sudden, our office started getting calls asking, well, didn't all lives matter? Yes, of course they did. And it was a recognition that through history, some lives have mattered much more than others. And then sometime in that, the pandemic hit. And following that was weeks of protests for Black lives. Luckily, another thing that happened around the time those screens went in is that we started live streaming our services. When COVID came, it would prove to be a tremendous blessing. All of a sudden, we were having people watch from some 25 states and a handful of countries around the world. Those were challenging days. We tried our best to keep people together. It was pretty strange when for over 2 years meant coming here with no folks in the pews and speaking only to that camera. Now, for an introvert, it meant not having to go to social hours, so there were some pluses. But even today, it's hard to assess the impact on all of our lives and on this community. The thing about church is that it's always a work in progress. This morning, someone may have come through our doors who will change it in some small way, or maybe some way that we can't even imagine. The church is always in process, and it's made up not only people who have been and people who are here now, but it includes the people who will one day come here in the future. It's made up of all the gifts that we bring, and yes, also the dreams that we embody, and perhaps some of the wounds we bring that need to be healed. Perhaps it's more of a circular story than a linear one. People are always coming and going. That, too, is part of our story. Now, we're not the only congregation asking those questions. For years, our church bucked the trend of liberal and moderate churches losing members at a rapid pace. For years, when the Protestant congregations were declining, we were the alternative voice. Now, when people come and tell us about their religious or spiritual histories, I notice that they usually don't have much or any experience in other faith communities. They come through our doors looking for spirituality and community. They're still looking for a place that helps them understand the current political climate. Maybe it's simply a place to feel safe. Perhaps the story is that the church is a very human institution. I've come to learn that faith communities, like people, have callings. They're asked to live out their missions in particular contexts. They embody all of that in the individuals within the individuals bring. For us, it's a living context that we're in this city. We're in this particular part of the city. For the women who founded our church in the 1860s, it was a community that would embody their liberal Christian values. For us today, we are very much part of this city, and the church, like the city, is figuring out who we are and where we're going as we come into this present moment. Last week, Reverend Allison talked about how in the coming months we'll be going through a kind of a visioning process about what we're asked to be as a congregation in our next chapters. And it's probably time for that. It was a little over 30 years ago now that members got together in a series of gatherings in members' homes, and they talked about what the church was to them and what their vision was for the community. That resulted in our present mission, now quite a few years old. At the beginning of this church year, we were invited to write down some of the things that we received as part of this community. Those are woven together in this beautiful tapestry in front. Next month, all of us will be invited to locate ourselves in that history as we make a timeline together of this place. When did you arrive here? 50 years ago? Or maybe just this morning? Words again of poet Denise Levertov. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in bud. We've only begun to know the power that is within us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud. I've been struck this weekend with news that the federal troops have been sent here to calm our city, to save it from insurrection. This often comes with images from the riots 5 years ago as a backdrop. For people in other parts of the country, they think there's been years and years of rioting in our city. But I've been struck by how, just like those days in the 90s with the anti-gay ballot measures when they were happening, there's this pervasiveness of fear. Once again, we are in times when fear can take so much meaning. In times of fear especially, it's so easy to scapegoat others. In times of fear, it is so very important to be with those who are the most vulnerable. Today, it's our trans siblings, immigrants who are simply seeking a new life here, the poor, and so many others. There's much to hold these days, friends, and I'm proud when I see the work that our church is doing on climate justice, to save our democracy, on reproductive rights, for trans rights, and for those who make it their work to tend this community in so many ways. All of that work, whether it's up front or behind the scenes, wouldn't be possible without the church as a foundation. There are many questions before us. What is it that we need to learn? I know that right now I want to go back and learn how the church bore witness during the McCarthy era, or in the days of the Ku Klux Klan that was so prominent here in Oregon. History, sadly, has a way of repeating itself. Sometimes I worry about the future of what this church will look like. There are real questions to ask, and the answers may not always come easily. But I continue to ground myself in a kind of faith that those answers will emerge, that in our coming together and even in our struggling, the answers will emerge. Scripture reminds us that love casts out fear, that in times when we are threatened, it's love that can help us through, and it's love that can hold us together. It's fear that keeps us separated from others, that it is love that reminds us that we are not alone. May that be our story today. May that be our prayer today, on this day, and in all the days to come. Blessed be, and amen. Let's thank you. 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 Let us sing together, friends, our closing hymn. Friends, as we go from this place today, may we remember that we are all part of this story we make together. May we tell that story and live that story with courage, with hope, and with joy. This is the day you and I have been given, so let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.